Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Citi News.
It's midday. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. The news is live from our studios at number 11 Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka, Accra. It's also live on all our partner stations across the country and around the world. We are live on citinewsroom.com. My name is Hawa, Iddrisu, and I'm here with
Kwaku, Aduamah, Ansah.
Coming up, Chairman of the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral Project, Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina, attribute the resignation of Bishop Dag Heward-Mills to individual differences in approach towards the project.
The challenge of such a group is that individual leaders with a history of implementing their own organizational or denominational programs and visions have to be part of a collective decision-making processes where their preferences might not always prevail.
Also coming up, government mobilizes funds to construct Mampong Ejura Road in the Ashanti region, which is alleged to have claimed 3 lives due to its poor state.
Putting everything together, I think
Mampong Ejura Road is cut off now. So we are mobilizing money from everywhere, to go and rectify the situation.
Still ahead, fisher folks to pay more for Premix fuel as prices of the commodity go up by almost 150% due to government reduction in subsidies.
Putting everything together, I think in consultation with MPA and the Ministry of Energy, we came to a consensus that 25 cedis per gallon. So from 10 cedis, it moved to 25 cedis per gallon. That is still a huge subsidy. I mean, the subsidy has now reduced from about 85% to 50%.
And later, we'll bring you a report on some project sites in Accra which are yet to see actual construction works after years of sword-cutting ceremonies.
More for solid. Every local private alcohol could 50% one scene, one call. And when we on the Edian Solly and Machi and a by area private near corn. Don't say you're fine.
All that and more on Citi Prime News, which is also live on all our affiliates across the country. Western region, we are live on Premier FM 100.5 in Takoradi, Beach FM 105.5 also in Takoradi, Bono region, Greener FM 95.9 in Sunyain, Ashanti region, Orange FM 107.9 in Kumasi, Volta region, Akwini Radio 96.7 in Kwando, Heritage FM 107.3 in Hohoi, Northern region, Dasuma FM 99.1 in Yendi, Upper East, Word FM 88.3 in Zwarungu, Upper West, we are live on West Link 88.1 in Laura, and Northeast region, we are live on Eagle FM 94.1 in Wale Wale.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Grateful for choosing us. Now, the chairman of the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral Project, Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina, has identified what he called deeply seated ideological differences and approach to the development of the National Cathedral as the possible reason for the resignation of Bishop Dag Heward-Mills from the board. He observed that while the strength of the Board of Trustees is its rich collection of seasoned men of God from across the board, individual preferences may not prevail in the face of the collective decisions taken. Citi News has published details of Bishop Dag Heward-Mills' resignation letter, where he raised concerns about government taking questionable decisions on the blind side of the board. He expressed disappointment over the neglect of his concerns on the cost of the project, location, among other things. But in a press release cited by Citi News, Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina noted that the architects and land were selected before the appointment of the board. Here are excerpts of the statement from the National Cathedral Board of Trustees.
The costing of the project And the selection of the contractors for the project were led by the project's lead consultants, as well as a technical committee officially commissioned by the Board of Trustees and including seasoned Ghanaian professionals in the building and construction industry. This technical committee reviewed all the proposals by the lead consultant before recommending these for approval to the board. The extensive preparatory works done, including work on the construction site, are all documented and available. Conclusion. One of the key strengths of the National Cathedral project is the Board of Trustees, made up of some of the key pioneering leaders of the church in Ghana and whose work on the project is contributing to the improved inter-church relations in the country. These church leaders, the Board of Trustees, have pioneered and or led vibrant churches with global reach and impact. These churches and their leaders not only have deep-seated theological differences, but also different understanding and approaches to the development of the National Cathedral. The challenge of such a group is that individual leaders with a history of implementing their own organizational or denominational programs and visions have to be part of a collective decision-making processes where their preferences might not always prevail. Specifically, this means that no one leader can have all their preferences, methods, and approaches accepted. In this changed and unfamiliar context, some would prefer to leave the trusteeship.
We had excerpt of a statement issued by the chairman of the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral Project, Apostle Professor Kwaku, read by my colleague Caleb Kuda.
Let's turn our attention to some other stories. And the Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoakwata, says government is mobilizing funds to construct the Mampong-Ejura Road, which is alleged to have caused the death of 3 persons due to its poor state. A section of the highway where a culvert is situated has caved in for the past 6 months, with the nearby Tatafuro River flooding a portion and posing danger to road users. Speaking at the Public Accounts Committee sittings, Kwesi Amoakwata announced he will visit the site to ascertain the situation.
Last year, we saw what happened in Upper West. Upper West experienced, torrential rainfall. And as many as 12 roads, major roads, were washed out with some bridges collapsing. They could not even be accessed by road. We had to go there with the kind support of the Air Force. In a record time, we had to rectify the situation. As we speak now, by Tuesday, God willing, I am moving to Mampong. Mampong-Ejura Road is cut off now. So we are mobilizing money from everywhere, to go and rectify the situation. And I am planning to move there by Tuesday.
So you heard that the Minister in charge of Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoakwata.
So those were excerpts of a statement or proceedings on the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. We'll be taking you live to the House shortly to get more from what the committee has been doing all through the morning. Now we understand the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has revealed that a rice processing firm in the Central Region, Tedman Company Limited, is indebted to the ministry to the tune of 123,000 cedis. The company was offered a rice mill to boost its local rice production activities in 2012, but has since not made payment to the Crop Services Department of the ministry. Now, this came up during the Public Accounts Committee hearing, and there are plans to invite the firm over the matter. We'll be taking you live to the Parliament House, where our correspondent, Ni Ayukwe Okai, is standing by for more on that. Now, the Christian Council of Ghana has just released a statement regarding the ongoing debt restructuring program by the government of Ghana. We are joined in studio by my colleague, Sami Riafe, who is our presidential correspondent as well. Good afternoon to you, Sami. Thanks for your time. What do we have in this latest press release by the Christian Council of Ghana?
Basically, the Christian Council is asking government to suspend this whole program until what they call further consultations or broader consultations are made. So they issued a statement and it's signed by Father Reverend Professor J.O.Y. Mante, who happens to be the chairman, and is also signed by Dr. Cyril Fayose, who happens to be the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. And with your permission, I'll read portions of the statement. It says, the leadership of the Christian Council of Ghana has followed with deep interest the ongoing debate about the debt restructuring in the country. After various discussion with some stakeholders on Ghana's economy, we are convinced that the whole process needs to be suspended until broader consultations have been made. As an advocacy group that speaks for the vulnerable in society, the Council has examined the concerns of the Individual Bondholders Association, the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, our church members, and the general public, and have identified lapses in the debt restructuring program, a major one being lack of consultation with affected individuals and institutions. It further says, with the current economic hardship in the country and the agitation among the general public, it is in the nation's interest for the Finance Ministry to suspend the 31st January 2023 deadline given to individuals to sign on to the program and rather propose a roadmap for dialogue to make the process more engaging such that the outcome will be acceptable to all. The Council believes that through thorough engagement with stakeholders will help the government to appreciate the concerns of the Ghanaian people and put measures in place to address some of the challenges of the program.
Right, many thanks for your time, Mr. Miriafe. We have on the line the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Cyril Fayose, to tell us more about this particular release. Good afternoon to you, Reverend. Thanks for your time. Now, this debt exchange program is part of what government shares burden sharing. Why are you calling for a total scrap of the debt exchange program?
We are not really calling for a total scrap of it. We are talking
suspension of the deadline, the 31st January deadline.
Yes, we are talking about the suspension of the 31st deadline and further engagement with the bondholders. We are happy to note that the Minister of Finance yesterday said they were going to engage the affected persons, and I think they have begun that process. That is why we are also asking for this.
But what has been the interest of the Christian Council in the wake of the current economic challenges that we are witnessing as a country?
Oh, the Christian Council member churches members are also Ghanaians, and some of them are bondholders who have been affected by some of the decisions that have been taken by the government and the Ministry of Finance, the domestic debt exchange program. So we have had a number of petitions on our table from groups and individuals asking us to also put in a word. So we are only doing that advocacy so the government will do what is best for all of us, not something that will hurt some members of society. So that is why we put out this release.
Very well. Have you met with some of the individual bondholders who may be members of your various churches?
Yes. The meetings have been done at various levels, not at the Christian Council of Ghana head office level, but individual bondholders have mentioned it to their ministers or pastors, and they have passed on the information to us. We have also had requests from a number of groups to give them audience, and we are working on that. We have not been able to give them audience yet, but we'll do that. But we also feel and notice the problem, and we are equally concerned. So we have to, even before we engage those people, release this statement.
Very well. There's a portion from your statement where you encourage the media to be circumspect on their reportage with regards to the ongoing program. What exactly has come to the board or come to the table of the Christian Council with regards to the media?
Well, the media sometimes can inflame a situation or calm it down. And so that is the reason why we are asking the media to do that. Not that any particular report had reached our table, and that is why we are asking for that. It's just a general request at this point that the media should be circumspect so that either for or against, they don't take things to a level where it becomes a problem for us, which may not be real or which may not be the situation.
Right. Now, as leadership of the Christian community, what would you do to help in this crisis?
Again, we are part of the advocacy process. So we look at how government policy affects people on the ground. And where necessary, we intervene. We are having engagements, as I said, with groups that have been affected by the DDEP, and we are also hearing from our own members about how they are affected. And so we also have engagements with the Ministry of Finance, with the government, with the president, to reach the best possible resolution of the problem. We are in this together. The problem is affecting the whole of Ghana, so we cannot sit idly by. So we also do our best to help resolve the problem.
Very well. Most grateful for your time.
Thank you.
You heard the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Cyril Fayosi. They just released a statement and they are demanding the suspension of the debt exchange program for government to engage further with persons or stakeholders involved. Let's now take you to Parliament, where we understand the Public Accounts Committee of the House. There's a particular company in the Central Region, a rice processing firm, which is indebted to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to the tune of 123,000 cedis. Let's go live to the House and speak to my colleague, Ni Ayukuyoka. Good afternoon to you, Ni Ayukuyo. Thanks for your time. Now, before we come to the rice company and the amount they're supposed to pay to the Agric Ministry, what happened earlier with regards to the Ejura-Mampong Road, where we understand the sector minister is mobilizing funds to construct that particular road because 3 people have allegedly died due to its poor state?
So this morning, the Public Accounts Committee is continuing with its hearings, which commenced on Monday, and appearing before it was the Minister for Roads and Highways and then officials as well from the ministry. And we've also had the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection appearing before the committee. We've also had the Trade and Industry, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and currently we have the Interior Ministry sitting before the committee answering questions regarding the 2020 Auditor General's report. And earlier, the Minister for Roads and Highways, was asked questions regarding the issuance of certificates to some contractors who have not yet completed work. But he indicated that there are some emergency issues, sometimes issues having to do with roads that are emergency, so they have to mobilize funds as soon as possible to ensure that they initiate those projects since they are emergency issues. And he made reference to one of the issues having to do with the footbridges that were constructed around the Medina Delta Highway, and he also indicated that the government also needs to mobilize funds as soon as possible to construct or deal with issues having to do with the Mampong Ejura Road, because if you would recall, somewhere last month we filed a report on this particular road which had a ditch on the road, and due to its poor state, it alleged that some 3 persons had died due to the poor nature of the road. So the minister indicated that he is mobilizing funds to ensure that work commences on that particular highway, and he also noted that he would be visiting the site on Tuesday, God willing, to ensure that they begin work on this particular highway, which is alleged to have claimed some 3 lives. And we've also had the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, as I indicated earlier. And one of the issues that also came up had to do with the missing Ford Ranger vehicle, which was being used for school feeding purposes in the Ashanti region. And this was a vehicle that since May 2019 has not been located, or they cannot identify where exactly it is. The ministry indicated that they've reported it to the police on the 24th of July 2019. And this, the committee indicated that was amounting to 134,000 Ghana cedis lost to the state. So there must be all efforts made to ensure that the vehicle is retrieved for the purpose for which it was intended for. And the ministry indicated that they would get back to the committee next week after they've done proper investigations into the matter. They also had the Food and Agriculture Ministry also appearing before the committee. We had the caretaker minister, Mavis Hawa, and other officials of the various departments under the ministry, and they indicated that one of the key issues having to do with the indebtedness of the rice mill to the Crop Services Department of the ministry. They said Tedman Company Limited, which is a rice milling firm in the central region, is indebted to the ministry to the tune of 123,000 Ghana cedis since 2012 that they offered the rice mill to the company. They haven't made payment to them. And the committee indicated that if since 2012 payment hasn't been made, then of course there could be some reasons for which the company isn't making those payments. So they intend to invite the company before the committee so that they could also be heard over the matter, because the authorities indicated that several efforts made towards retrieving the money have also proven unsuccessful. So they would have to invite the committee to answer to some questions. They would invite the company to answer to some questions.
Nia, please hold the line for me. Let's take a listen to excerpt of what transpired on the committee.
There's a company called Tedman Company, and there's an amount owed 127,177 Ghana cedis, and only 4,000 of it was paid. What has happened to the rest of the amount?
Mr. Chairman, we have still not been able to recover the remaining amounts. There have been a series of letters to the company. As we speak, our next line of action is to refer the matter to the Attorney General for advice on the matter.
Sir, this is since 2012. We are in 2023, and you haven't been able to recover this amount, and you are telling us you are thinking about referring it to the Attorney General? How many decades do you need to recover this amount?
Mr. Chairman, the total amount was 127, out of which the company has only paid 4,000. And we are saying after all this series of communication, there has still not been payment. And being a transaction which is of a commercial nature, it is the Attorney General that will be a better place to advise us on.
So you had excerpt of a conversation between the Vice Chair of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, Samuel Atamios, and officials of the Agric Ministry. Let's wrap up with that, and Nia Ayiko is still on the line. So Ayiko, tell us who is currently before the committee? Nia Ayiko.
Hello, Hawa.
So which entity is currently before the committee?
Currently, we have the Ministry of Interior, and under it, we have some agencies, that's the FAST, the Police Service, and then the Immigration Service. So we have the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Kufo Dampare, and the Deputy Minister of Interior, Nana, all before the committee answering questions pertaining to their outfit.
Grateful for your time. That was my colleague Ni Ayukwe Okan bringing us up to speed on happenings at the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. This is still the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. Still to come, we take you to the court where a lawyer for Nana Agradaa, Theophilus Donko, has been charged for assault on a police officer. We'll tell you more shortly. Please stay with us.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Counting a population of over 1.4 billion people, a vast wealth of natural resources and brilliant minds, welcome to Africa, where our collective prosperity is very much achievable. This is why the Africa Prosperity Network, under the auspices of the President of the Republic of Ghana and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, presents the Africa Prosperity Dialogues, dubbed the Kwaku Summit. From the 26th to the 28th of January 2023, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo will host some of his colleagues, heads of state, over 500 business leaders and social sector leaders on the continent and in the diaspora for the Africa Prosperity Dialogues. Themed AFCFTA from ambition to action, delivering prosperity through continental trade. Register at www.africaprosperitynetwork.com.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Yeah, welcome back. Now, lawyer for Nana Agradaa, Theophilus Donko, has been charged for assault on a police officer. Let's go live to the court and speak to my colleague Hansen Aduamah. Good afternoon to you, Hansen. Thanks for your time. Tell us what happened.
So what we have been told is that on 16th January, the prosecution in the case of Nana Agradaa made a re-arrest for Nana Agradaa. We are not clear as to what exact offense she has done this time, but she was re-arrested on January 16 at the court premises. The fact as we have it now is that during that particular arrest, there was some form of resistance on the part of the lawyer for Nana Agradaa. According to the police, during this resistance, he used some abusive words against police officers. So based on the abusive words that he used on these police officers, he has been charged for counts of assault on a public officer. Contrary to Section 205B of the Criminal Offences Act, he has also been charged for offensive conduct conducive to breach of peace, contrary to Section 207 of the Criminal Offences Act. So these are the charges as we have been told. The facts, as we know, as have been narrated by prosecution, is that Agradaa was arrested for a separate case at the premises of the circuit court. That was when the lawyer used these abusive words, which in the wisdom of the prosecution amounts to assault on a police officer. We also understand that this particular lawyer, in the person of Theophilus Donko, has also filed an application injuncting the police officers, indicating that they do not have any jurisdiction to initiate the arrest, one, and also to charge him for assault. The point he makes primarily is that the incident happened at the premises of the circuit court. He was, however, invited by the cantonment police. He argues that if you look at the geographical location of the circuit court, it falls under the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, while if you look at the geographical location of the cantonment police, it does not fall under the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. So his point is that considering these two different locations, i.e. where the offense occurred and where the police invited him to, the police had no jurisdiction whatsoever to initiate this arrest and to charge him. In this same application that he has sent to for injunction the jurisdiction of the police, He's also alleging that this arrest, in his view, is an attempt by the police to reduce his popularity. And he also says it is in the grand scheme of how the police seeks to prosecute the cases against Nana Agrada. This is what we have so far. His plea is yet to be taken, but the story is that Theophilus Donko is acting as lawyer for Nana Agrada Patricia Isidua. He has been arrested and charged for assault on a public officer, that's a police officer, and also for conduct conducive to the peace.
Very well. Hansen, you also covered the case where the 3 suspects connected to the disturbances at the NDC Youth and Women's Congress in December last year. The case has been adjourned to February 25. How did the court arrive at today's adjournment?
Well, what we got to know is that the judge was not available for proceedings to continue. So based on that, the case was adjourned to February 25. And these 3 persons, as we know, are among 16 others the police had put on a wanted list after the disturbances that occurred at the NDC Youth and Women Congress. The facts, as have been narrated also in this case, suggest that these 3 persons were paid either 250 or 200 cedis, depending on who you were working in interest for. So 2 of the accused persons, according to the police, were working in the interest of George Opare Addo, who is currently the national youth organizer of the NDC. And he paid these 2 persons and the others who engaged in this scuffle at the NDC Congress 250 cedis each, while the other 1 person, who is the 3rd accused person, according to police investigations, was in the camp of Hannah Bisu and also was operating in the interest of Broja Jemfi, who contested George Opare Addo. We are told that he and others who worked in the interest of Broja Jemfi were also paid 200 cedis, and they have been charged with acts in contravention to the Vigilante and other unrelated offences act. And so on February 25, when the court reconvenes, we'll get to know what happens. But since we've been covering this case, we know that 2 of them have pleaded not guilty to the charges.
Grateful for your time. That was my colleague Hansen Aduamah bringing us happenings in the courts of law. Kwaku will bring us our next story.
In more stories, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, says it is collaborating with other agencies to investigate 80 million fake currency notes with CFA inscriptions intercepted on Tuesday. The suspect carrying the cash was arrested at the Aplao border when he attempted to sneak the fake currency into the country. The amount, when converted, is worth about 1.5 million Ghana cedis on the average. The commissioner in charge of Customs Division, Seidu Iddrisu, tells City News that the probe will establish the motive of importing fake currency into Ghana.
Whereas in customs, when we say goods, it includes everything. So every goods that you are bringing, you must come to the approved route and declare to customs. If it's something that needs a permit or a license before you can bring it, you must produce the license or permit. If it's something that is banned from crossing, we will intercept it at that point. So even the fact that he was crossing at an unapproved route, he has already broken part of our law, and bringing in fake currency is also against and then not declaring the currency until we have intercepted him is against the Bank of Ghana regulations on the movement of currencies. And like I said, investigation may establish whether it is proceeds from other crimes, because we need to know where it was printed, how it was printed, and who was he bringing it to. All these things can reveal further criminal activities. And you can imagine, people who will, it takes some degree of findings to know that it is fake. Traders will take it and it will be circulating along the line. And until you take the money to a bank or to an institution that has a way of testing that, they will know that this is fake. So it has a lot of implications both economically and socially on our lives.
Possible sanctions?
Yeah, the possible sanctions, we will, definitely these laws I'm talking about are national laws. And if we finish in medicine, we'll prosecute him according to all those laws that he has infringed.
Seydou Iddrisu Idisa is the commissioner in charge of Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority.
The price of Premix fuel has seen a 15 cedi increase. As a result, fisherfolk will now purchase the product at 25 cedis from the earlier price of 10 cedis. The current increase of the price of the commodity, according to the government, is as a result of increasing cost on the international market. The administrator of the National Premix Secretariat, Nana Abroko Asari, says the Secretariat have since explained to fisherfolk why government could not bear the full cost for subsidizing the commodity.
Premix fuel, like we all know, is highly subsidized by government. The subsidy is as huge as about 85% subsidy. So in recent times, government has also expressed the challenges in catching up with the ever-rising cost of fuel on the world or international market. So we engaged the leadership of the fisherfolks last week to discuss the modalities that can help us improve in the supply of Premix fuel. And one of the things that came up strongly is we considering a marginal increase of Premix fuel. So we agreed at a roundtable discussion that we would increase the price of Premix fuel marginally so that it reduces the burden on government. For the record, the gallon was being sold for 10 cedis and 20 pesos. Ordinarily, a gallon should be selling for 70 cedis, 80 cedis. So per gallon, every gallon, government incurs a cost of about 70 cedis. After sitting down and deliberating with the fishermen, we agreed that a gallon of fuel should be sold for about 30 cedis. But putting everything together, I think in consultation with NPA and the Ministry of Energy, we came to a consensus that 25 cedis per gallon. So from 10 cedis, it moved to 25 cedis per gallon.
The figures you have mentioned is not a marginal increment. From 10 to 25 is a very huge one.
Yes, admittedly, it's quite an increase. I agree with you. But looking at that cost as compared to what the fishermen are currently paying for fuel, it's still a huge subsidy and it's still huge savings to them. Because in situations that we are unable to supply fisher for fuel, they are all tempted to buy it at the fuel stations. They buy it at the price that you and I buy fuel. And a gallon of fuel now is between 70 to 80 cedis. And after they buy that fuel, they now have to even buy engine oil and then do their own formulation or their own mixture. And a lot of times they don't even get the ratios right.
On the availability of the product, he says measures have been put in place to ensure regular supply.
We were still having challenges, or we are still having challenges, because this increment, these modalities were just agreed on sometimes just last week. And there are other modalities that we've agreed with the stakeholders, Ministry of Energy, NPA, that we are going to put in place to make sure that Premix fuel is more regular and it's more consistent for the fisher folks to have fuel to go. So in the next couple of days, we are going to resume supply, and we are hoping that will be very consistent throughout the year so that the fisher folk can always get fuel to undertake their fishing expedition.
You heard the administrator of the National Premix Secretariat, Nana Abroko Asari.
Now, the Ghana Health Service has declared Friday, January 20 to Tuesday, January 24 as the 6th National COVID-19 Vaccination Days. Speaking at a press briefing in Accra, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabuaji, disclosed that the Ghana Health Service will deploy over 6,000 COVID-19 vaccination teams across the country to ensure that the majority of Ghanaians receive the jab. He emphasized that eligible persons who are yet to vaccinate need to take advantage of the exercise to do so.
The course of the disease continues to evolve, and we still have a significant, large proportion of the population being unvaccinated, especially in our rural areas and areas where the disease seems not to have touched so much. So the fear and the need to vaccinate is not as urgent as those who have seen cases. Consequently, we are gathered here this morning to witness the launch of yet another series of national COVID-19 vaccination days, which starts tomorrow, Friday, the 20th of January through to Tuesday, 24th of January, across all districts in the country. As with the previous campaigns, we're going to have 6,000 vaccination teams will be deployed across the length and breadth of this country, employing both the static, that is facility-based, close-to-client strategies, that is taking the vaccine to them to reach the unreached, and even going to overbanks to reach people where who live across rivers. The aim is to administer about 1.5 million doses, bringing us closer to herd immunity.
Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji is the Director General of the Ghana Health Service.
You are still listening to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. Still to come, we'll bring you a report on some project sites in Accra which are yet to see actual construction works after years of sword-cutting ceremonies. Details coming up. Please don't go away.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Can I have my tom-tom?
Your passion. You have dreamt of it, planned for it, worked for it, wept for it, fought for it, and lived for it. At a critical now or never moment, you might lose focus from it. That's when you pop your tom-tom candy. Focus and breathe. Just breathe. You've got this. You have so much to breathe for. Breathe for it with TomTom. This advert is FDA approved.
Imagine 7 exciting days of adventure through 16 incredible regions of Ghana with a promise of a rich cultural experience, introspective historical visitations, and exhilarating field days with nature. Imagine 7 amazing days of a road trip filled with the sights, sounds, and the aura of a diversified people. But you don't have to imagine it. You can be there to experience all the thrilling adventures a Heritage Caravan trip has to offer. What are you waiting for then? Join the expedition of a lifetime to discover Ghana from the 4th to the 11th of March on the Heritage Caravan 2023. Pack your bags and let's set off on a spectacular tour from Greater Accra through to the Eastern region, Ashanti region, Upper East region, Savannah region, Northern region, through to the Northwest, Bono region, Ahafo region, Bono East region, Western North, Western region, and the Central region of Ghana. A journey full of fun, education, information, wonderful memories, and great bonding moments awaits you. So call 0205-973-973 to register for Heritage Caravan 2023 now. The Heritage Caravan 2023 is powered by Citi FM with support from Citi TV and proudly sponsored by Holland Ghana, the European Union, Malta Guinness, and Ebony Condoms.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. Now, uncompleted infrastructure projects is a common characteristic of many developing countries, including Ghana. Infrastructure is a high priority for many governments due to its pivotal role in enhancing social and economic development. Many of these much-needed projects, however, remain abandoned in the course of construction. The following report by Citi News' Ni Ayukwe Okan throws the spotlight on some of the magnificent projects in Accra that have seen sword-cutting ceremonies, but work is yet to commence.
Ghana has envisioned huge projects that will make them a sight to see upon their successful completion. The projects are part of efforts to redefine architecture and encourage industrialization. However, as it is often the case with government's own projects, a lot of these facilities are yet to show up. One of such developments is the Marine Drive project. It is a 241-acre waterfront redevelopment plan for Accra that extends from the Independence Square to the coast and culminates in a coastal overlook with expansive, dramatic scenery across the Gulf of Guinea. The project will transform this waterfront into a new public infrastructure with commercial, exhibition centers, offices, a beach soccer field, and recreational and retail facilities. But After shortcutting in 2018 by President Akufo-Addo, the $1.2 billion facility is yet to start, despite the demolition of hundreds of structures along the beaches behind the Black Star Square. Some of these structures served as offices for various ministries, departments, and agencies. A portion of the site has currently been turned into a dumping ground with heaps of sand on other sections. The area is serving as an abode for some, while others have resorted to open defecation on the heap of sands.
Private, more for solid.
People engage in open defecation because they have to pay 50 pesos or 1 cedi. It is not a good practice. The project has stalled for a while. We are looking forward to the completion of the project by government.
The Auditor General's report for the period ended 31st December 2020 sadly states that an amount of 387 million Ghana cedis meant for the Marine Drive project was misapplied, leaving the project at its current state. The Ghana Trade Fair Company also signed a $1 billion agreement with Stella Holding to redevelop the Trade Fair site. This project aims to transform the 140-acre site of the Ghana International Trade Fair Center into a new cutting-edge, mixed-use, sustainable commercial estate. Phase 1 of the project will accommodate the World Economic Forum's Convention Center and exhibition halls. Phase 2 of the Ghana International Trade Fair Center redevelopment project will contain amenities including 5-star hotels, upscale shopping centers, and other residential and commercial buildings. But work on the facility is also yet to commence after the routine demolition of structures which were inhabited by businesses in 2020. The site has the ruins of the demolished structures on some sections, with heavy-duty machines around. The La Polyclinic was also demolished in March 2020 for redevelopment due to the dilapidated nature of the structures. Almost 3 years on, work is yet to commence on the site, despite several assurances from the government. What may look different this time round may be the newly heaped sands on site during a visit to the area.
The people of La are calling for their equal share, their fair share as citizens of Ghana for a health facility. Now when we are sick, we run around, we do not know where to go. They have given us a polyclinic which closes at 8 p.m. We don't have a mortuary, we don't have a NICO center where people born, premature borns are put there. We do not have anything.
The project is being financed by a credit facility from the Standard Chartered Bank of the United Kingdom, with an export credit guarantee from Sinosure of the People's Republic of China to the tune of 68 million euros. Upon completion, it will be transformed into a 160-bed facility and will be fitted with an outpatient department, inpatient wards, maternity and neonatal services, surgical units and 4 theaters, accident and emergency department, public health department, pharmacy unit, laboratory, administration, imaging area with CT scan, X-ray room, ultrasound, fluoroscopy, mammography units, physiotherapy units, and a mortuary. The hospital would serve residents of La, Osu, Teshi, Nungwa, and its surrounding areas with their healthcare needs. Similarly, the National Cathedral project was proposed by the government in 2017 as a fiscal embodiment of national unity, harmony, and spirituality. The $350 million interdenominational cathedral will have an auditorium capable of seating 5,000 people, as well as chapels and a baptistry. About 50 buildings in the Ridge Enclave, made up of offices and residential apartments for state officials, were pulled down as usual. Court of Appeal judges in apartments constructed by the Judicial Service 5 years ago were evicted and the facility pulled down. A temporary accommodation offered them was said to have cost the country $168,000 for 18 months.
We are suspending all capital projects in 2023.
including school buildings, including roads, including this capital project, we are suspending. Meanwhile, you are allocating 80 million for Cathedral. You see the opposite here. We are in, how do we call this place? That's Osulabadi. Around this vicinity, Osulabadi here, you have demolished about 30 houses here in the name of construction of Cathedral. You've not been able to even lay a foundation. In this same budget, the minister says he's demolishing this Accra International Conference Center. Just opposite here. As I speak to you, they are holding program in Accra International Conference Center. He said he's going to demolish it. And in the budget, the minister who says he's suspending capital projects has allocated 1.4 billion Ghana cedis, 1.4 billion Ghana cedis, just to demolish the Accra International Conference Center and reconstruct it. Within this same vicinity, the same minister, Osulabadi here, has demolished La General Hospital. There's no foundation. Why is it that you are interested in demolition without reconstruction?
Many have criticized the government for the stalling projects since March 2022, despite the allocation of over 300 million Ghana cedis for the edifice.
A country like Ghana, struggling to survive, we choose a model which is the most costly, a very reckless model. Instead of looking for a green field, an unencumbered land, we opted to demolish structures, scholarship secretariat, a building that I would never touch, having worked in education before, the scholarship secretariat. If you look at the people who have obtained scholarships and have gone through that place, from the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Kofi Annan, John Evans Attabills, the Fulbright scholarship he received. Elsewhere, that property will be preserved. Even to paint, to change the lock, you will need approval. In other jurisdictions, they are the listed properties category. It's a tourist attraction. It makes a lot of revenue for those countries. We demolished all of that. Demolished the Judicial Training Institute. Now the Chief Justice is going around looking for a $50 million loan to build a new one. Judges' bungalows were demolished. Then the Comsys IT firm, Waterstone Realty, the private developer who has luxury apartments. Now he is in court demanding 120 million cedis in judgment debt. The Malian ambassador's residence was demolished. Now they are looking for land for them at Airport Residential, and we have to build a new residence. So do people say that the cost is $400 million? When you put, by the time you put all of this together, we'll be spending in excess of $1 billion. So the most reckless model was adopted.
It appears the ritual of demolition for the start of unfinished projects is not ending anytime soon because plans are in place to have the Accra International Conference Center demolished for the reconstruction of a new one.
Many people, many countries want to come here for international conferences. We don't have a fit-for-purpose conference center. In any case, this is a revenue generator, really, and we will work with continue to work with Parliament.
It becomes quite frustrating and mind-boggling to the taxpayer, often to come across a lot of these unfinished projects dotted across the country. But the question then is, for how long will the habit of pulling down structures, never to be completed projects continue? Reporting from the Accra International Conference Center, my name is Ni Ayikweyi Okain for Citi News.
Now, management of Nana Benin Sikoko Presbyterian School in the Okere district of the Eastern Region has made a passionate appeal to the Ministry of Education and civil society organizations to come to the aid of the school with the provision of basic teaching and learning materials to help sustain the running of the institution. Inadequate desk for teachers and students, lack of teaching and learning materials, water, electricity and ICT center, amongst others, have given room for absenteeism. A situation management says is absent the sidelines of the presentation of teaching and learning materials by a non-governmental organization said the situation is dire.
Nana Benin, as at the time I was posted here as a head teacher, in fact, we are facing a whole lot of challenges. Challenge about water, challenge about ICT center, challenge about even vendors to sell in the school. We don't have any of those things. So it has to do with pupils, when they travel from their various homes to school, whether they eat or they don't eat, we manage ourselves to at least go down with the situation. And it is becoming a whole lot of challenges for us. Short of learning materials like desks and then other things. We lack all those things. So we would like to appeal to any philanthropists who will be in favor to help us so that we can move ourselves in our learning endeavor. I think ICT goes with electricity. So we can have the ICT center anyway, but without the light, we cannot operate. So the government can come to our aid by providing light to the community so that the ICT center can function.
So you have there the headmaster of the Nana Benin Sikoko Presbyterian School, Charles Kalife.
Now, some traders in the Kumasi City market, popularly known as the New Kejetia market, have begun closing down their shops. This follows what appears to be the unending controversy surrounding the use of one bulk meter for the over 7,000 shops in the market. Traders complained that they pay exorbitant electricity bills due to the failure of facility managers to provide them separate meters for shops. The president of the Federation of Kumasi Traders, Nana Akwesi Prempe, tells Citi News some traders have been forced to close down their shops due to their electricity bills.
It seems nobody is heeding to the plea of these traders. But you realize that within the last couple of months, the bills that ECJ brings to KJTR and subsequently to the traders is on the high. After the tariff review in September, the amount that we used to pay rose from 398,000 and other figures to about 491,000 a month. So we realize that traders are paying more for electricity charges within the market, all because of the one bulk meter in the market. And we've just heard that PURC have reviewed the tariff effective 1st February, about 29% for electricity. So we realize that if currently the bills that management is giving to us, traders are not able to pay. Some have closed up their shops because if the person checks the money that he or she gets within the month and realize that she or she is not making progress, they decide to close up.
Nana Akwesi Prempe is president of the Federation of Kumasi Traders. Meanwhile, the management of the Electricity Company of Ghana says the market owes it over 5 million cedis in arrears. Grace Gachon is the Ashanti Regional Public Relations Officer for the ECG.
We disconnected KTR markets last year because they were owing us, and there was an agreement that they will be paying the money they were owing. They paid some, and as at now, they are owing us about 5 million because what they were owing was quite huge. They paid some, and still they are owing us about 5 million. Truly, they have written that they want individual meters. From the beginning, it wasn't like that. They were using the bulk meter. So till now. So what's happening is that if we have to supply KTR markets individual meters, which is quite a huge number, it involves money. We have to use money to go and get those meters for us. And they are owing us so much. So how do we get the money to supply them these meters? We need money. So if they pay us, definitely we'll see what we can do from there.
You heard the Ashanti Regional Public Relations Officer for the Electricity Company of Ghana. And that's how we end today's edition of the Citi Prime News, which has been live from our studios in Adabraka, Accra. The news was also live on all our affiliates across the country: Western Region, Premier FM and Beach FM, both in Takrade; Bono Region, Greener FM; Ashanti Region, Orange FM, Kumasi; Volta Region, Akpini Radio, Kwando; Heritage FM in Hohoi; Northern Region, Dasuma FM in Yendi; Upper East, Word FM, Zwarungu; Upper West, Westlink FM in Laura; and Northeast Region, we were live on Eagle FM in Wale Wale. You can log on to citynewsroom.com for more stories. My name is Hawa Iddrisu. I was here with
Kwaku, Aduamah, Ansah.
Michael Obodu is up next with the afternoon's edition of Citi Business News. Many thanks for your company. Do have a great afternoon.
Citi 97.3. More variety.